Got it.
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
you can go ahead. Thanks.
So, hi everyone. I know that actually it's a very good point to start with. We are in the month of August and we are talking about AI, and also today is a great occasion to start with. Right. Before we jump into the today's talk, so brief introduction about me, who I am, and what exactly excites me. So, actually, I come from a hardcore medical background, a trained physician. Uh, I have pursued my medical schooling from University of Delhi, and post that I was working in the office of the Prime Minister and working as a consultant in digital health segment, uh, particularly focusing on artificial intelligence and machine learning in healthcare. Apart from that, I have my understanding in medical legal aspects. So trained in health laws, the ethical parts of medical, you can say, from the prestigious National Law School, Bangalore. And I also hold a management degree from Indian School of Business, Hyderabad. So you can see that I'm a little bit of a person who is trained in medicine, a physician, having a some kind of understanding of legal aspects, knows how to make business sense, and currently I'm exploring more of tech side of healthcare. So before we proceed, a few disclaimers. This is primarily a awareness and orientation session. As you know that we have only 1 hour in which I will try to enumerate and touch the various aspects of CDSS today. But in the interest of time, the conference theme, I will limit my talk particularly to CDSS in the sector of AI, because AI itself is a very vast topic, and uh, AI in healthcare is also comparatively a vast topic, right? And before moving further, I explicitly state that all the statements I will be making today is completely entirely on my personal capacity, and I will be expressing my personal opinions, and in no way they're representing my employers, be it the current ones or the past, or my any kind of affiliations in any way. Yep, let's move forward. So first of all, a big thanks to Alok and the team of Techmedbuddy. I really appreciate the kind of efforts they're putting in, especially in a country where education is currently very much money driven, and not much real world evidence based, right? I was going through today's attendance, the participants who have registered. I came to know that most of you are either bachelors or masters, some of you are PhDs. I came across few profiles of doctors also who registered for this particular webinar, and most of you are either from a pharma background, pharmacy, or people are from bioinformatics, or people are from a hardcore life science background. Few people were also from computational biology setup. 2 3 people were from medical schools also. So good diverse pool, but the great part is that the topic suits you all. AI and its application in healthcare, primarily focusing on CDSS, that is the clinical decision support system, right? We will jump to the clinical decision support system, but to understand that, we'll start with little bit of AI, with little bit of data, with little bit of healthcare data, and how to put that all together. Then we'll move towards the CDSS. For the benefit of the audience, I will request all of you to note down the questions you have in a rough note or on your mobile notes or something like that. I will try to wrap my conversation in the next 20 to 25 minutes, and happy to answer all your queries one by one, and happy to interact. Okay, let's move. So first of all, let's try to understand that what exactly is happening in healthcare, and why there is a lot of change happening in healthcare. So primarily, if you try to understand, for the next 2 to 3 slides, I will be discussing a survey, right? I will not go much deep where the survey was done, nothing apart from that, but I will try to discuss the results and the output that will bring a lot of insights for all of us. So survey was done in which a lot of clinicians, around 3,000 clinicians were surveyed, and they were asked a multiple questions, starting from what do you think, why healthcare is going through a lot of paradigm changes, what do you think, why there is a lot of investment in health tech, right? So a lot of questions were asked, and the answers have come up, we'll discuss today, right? So first, to try to understand, if you try to see the top, the COVID global pandemic, which happened in 2020, is the biggest driver. It almost, you can say, a good percentage is saying that it was the most driving force. Simultaneously, if you try to understand the lower down bottoms, it is not actually the lower down bottom, it is also pushing a lot. Rises infectious disease, we all know now that a lot of infectious and zoonotic diseases are common. AMR is a big challenge. I could see today people have asked me that how we can use various drugs for the drug repurposing purposes, how we can use AI for AMR and stuff. And simultaneously, if you see with the improvement in the quality of healthcare we have, the overall lifespan of humans have increased a lot, right? So aging population is also driving the force of change in healthcare. If you try to understand performance matrix, so performance matrix is that how we measure the quality in healthcare. So the length of stay you have in your hospitals, the readmission rate, for example, once you get discharged, again you come back. Waiting time for your OPDs, for your IPDs, for getting any test done, in and around it, right? And last but not the least, patient satisfaction. This is very, very important in today's scenario, right? So these are few pointers I wanted to mention to make you understand that there is a lot of drivers of change, but these points will make you understand that why exactly healthcare needs to change and what exactly is forcing them. Because if you try to understand these, then only you will understand what academia is doing, what industry is doing, and what investors are doing. That is also very, very important. Now, let's meet the future physician. So, if you try to understand this slide, so this talks about how the physician behaves today. These are the force which will make them change. This is the future physician. So if you talk about today's scenario, what exactly is happening is that patients are more empowered. It means that currently, for example, say I am sitting in a family planning OPD, right? And some of you are married also, right? And a young couple comes to me saying, Dr. Hara, we just have had a marriage a couple of months back, and we don't want to immediately plan a baby, and how you suggest the contraceptive methods and all, right? So if you go say 20 years back or 15 years back, what used to happen, the doctor will simply prescribe ki use copper T or use OCPs, something like that, right? Nowadays it's not happening like that. Nowadays when patients are coming up, they have their own you can say understanding. They will simply say, Dr. Hara, we want to use copper T because it's a one time thing and we can relax for the next 5 years. Some females are there who might be saying, Dr. Hara, I will not be comfortable with the copper T, I want with the OCP, right? They have their own notions, they have their own knowledge. So patients are more informed and empowered. Secondly, empathy is very, very important, right? So I hope you all are aware that what is sympathy and empathy. Empathy is exactly putting yourself in someone's shoes and imagining and going through those emotions, right? So nowadays you have to understand that soft skills are going to be very important. Gone are those days in which patient comes in, physician just writes a prescription and gives it, and patient walks happily, right? Nowadays patient looks up that how the doctor is behaving, how the physician is treating me, how they're engaging, right? Next, time is very short supply. So as you know, if I talk about my daily schedule, so I'm doing my MD. So every day, whenever I sit in OPD, I get 3 to 4 hours, right? And in 4 hours, you can easily expect I am having an OPD strength of 150 plus. So 240 minutes and 150 patients, it means that I can't give more than 2 minutes to any patient, right? And when I'm saying this 2 minutes, it includes the patient coming inside to my chamber and going outside, right? So the time is very short supply. So this is the today's scenario. If I talk about drivers of change, I told you that patients are now more informed. Patient is coming after reading magazines. Patients who are very much educated, they're even reading Lancet or a very good published PubMed indexed journal research papers. Patients who are a little bit less educated, they are coming after listening to various YouTube channels, various news media reports, various magazines, right? So overall, patients are informed. Secondly, patients are now consumers. So to understand this, you need to understand what exactly is COPRA. So COPRA is actually a Consumer Protection Act, in which what happens is that, for example, you purchase a television from a showroom, right? So you are a consumer and there is a salesperson, right? The company owner who is running that electronic shop. So he gives you something and he says that there is a 5 year warranty, and you purchase it and you come back home, use that appliance. In the next 3 months, there is some issue with the device and you go back, right? Claiming for the warranty and stuff. So that is something called a seller and a consumer relationship. Earlier, gone are those days when healthcare was a service-based sector. we all used to say Dr. Bhagwan hota hai, right? Quote unquote, and simultaneously saying that healthcare should be affordable and it should be free of cost. But if you go practically as per law, that's why in the first slide I mentioned that I have got a good amount of legal training now also. So now everything in healthcare comes under the ambit of COPRA. So it means that you as a patient is a consumer, and I as a doctor is a service provider. I am providing at a service. It might happen that I am providing a free service, but still I am bounded by the law, right? So when the patients and doctors have this kind of relation, then satisfaction becomes very, very important. And also patients are more demanding nowadays. It means that patient wants to know that doctor साहब आपने ये दवाई दी किस लिए दी, कब तक लेनी है, इसके कोई साइड इफेक्ट्स तो नहीं है. पहले if you ask your parents, what used to happen is that doctor will simply prescribe, they will just follow that blindly, right? And personally, if you ask me, Dr. Hara, is this a good thing? I will say definitely it's a good thing. Why? Because patients are taking better decisions, and simultaneously healthcare workforce is also on their toes to perform, right? Now let's meet the future generation doctors or the upcoming, right? So first of all, there will be going to be more partnership with the patient. If you remember, I gave you an example of a family planning OPD. So what is going to be in the future is that there is going to be a proper basket approach, right? You will come to my OPD as a young couple. I will tell you that, see, these are the 5 methods of contraception available free of cost. And if you want to go for these methods, these are a little bit costly, these are not available in government setup. For example, you say ki Hara, I want to try a transdermal patch or something like that. So patients are becoming a more partnered in their own care. They're trying to listen out to the options, 1 2 3 doctors have kya kya options hai, and we will choose from them, right? Next, patients with the evolution of time, for example, today you have chat gpt, right? You can easily say ki I want to visit Goa, make an itinerary for me for next 2 days, right? Similarly, patients are asking ChatGPT or various AI tools or even Google, right? And they're becoming a lot of empowered. Whether, for example, my doctor has prescribed me pantoprazole with extract, should I take pantoprazole and extract simultaneously? I'm currently on blood thinner. Should I take paracetamol? Right? I'm having tuberculosis. I'm taking rifampicin. Should I take this drug? Right? So patients are slowly learning a lot of, you can say, medicine from various AI tools, and this makes them more empowered. And next, the last part I want to cover is the personalized care. Gone are those days when what used to happen, you give a shoe and you ask that this shoe should fit all the patients. Now it is not like that. Now every patient expects a little bit of personalized touch. It means that patient wants their care to be based on their genomic data. They want a little bit of prevention aspects, but currently we are in that direction with the coming of more and more data science into the healthcare, which I will be discussing today. This is going to be more focused and more approach based, and it will eventually evolve a lot, right? If you talk about the actionable items, yeah, health literacy, soft skills, these are things, and these are improving greatly. Let's meet the future tech savvy physician. So as I mentioned, right, that this is a very digital network and digital era. So healthcare workforce needs to be digitally educated. There are people like Alok and Techmedbuddy, and a lot of people are, you can say, working in this direction. And also EMR, I hope a lot of you have well understanding that electronic medical health record. There it is currently a little bit inefficient. For example, there are, say, Max Hospital, Apollo, and a government hospital, and you visit this 3 hospital, Max in, say, January, Apollo in, say, in April, and in August you visit a government hospital, and you had different conditions. For example, you visited one for dermatology condition, one for your cough, and another for your vaccination. But all the 3 data hospitals are not having their EMR integrated. This results in what? This level results in loss of health data, right? And lack of interoperability. So there is a big data coming up. So that is a driver of change. COVID has differently accelerated tech. And I just, like I mentioned in the previous slide, empowered patients are there. So overall, this is going to happen a lot of AI and digital transformation. The last 3 slides, what I have discussed, right, from this to this and this, it will make you understand that in which direction slowly we are moving, right? This comes, like I talked about big data. You'll ask me, Hara, where is this big data coming up? So you have your OPD and IPD records in an EMR. That is a source of big data. You have wearable devices. You're wearing Apple Watches, Fitbit, and a lot of things, right? That is your medical claims when you file for insurance. That is coming. patient registry. So this is something for the non-medicals who are here. For example, say for example, somebody is suffering from cancer, we have a cancer registry. Somebody is suffering from tuberculosis, so their data points are there. Remote monitoring. So there are companies, a lot of companies like Dozy, a lot of companies which are working on a home ICU setup, right? Making some wearable patches, wearable device and remote monitoring are working simultaneously. Family history, whenever you visit a hospital, your doctor asks कि आपके घर में किसी को टीबी है, आप वेजिटेरियन हैं, आपको पहले कभी कुछ हुआ है, आपके घर में किसी को कोई जेनेटिक बीमारी तो नहीं है, तो all that coming together. Research study, we all have been using a lot of research papers, PubMed research papers, Web of Science, Scopus, and all that, right? So these are also being part of this big data. So if you try to understand slowly and slowly, we are moving towards this data intrinsic economy and simultaneously ecosystem. I wanted to mention two words, ecosystem and economy. Ecosystem because overall you have to be part of this ecosystem. And just like Alok mentioned, what is the reason of Techmedbuddy? They want to make everyone rich. And there is no fault behind being rich, right? So if you want to be rich, you have to go in that direction in which economy is there, right? Because money flows in a direction, and if you have to be rich, you have to follow that direction. You can't go opposite to that. So a lot of paradigm shift is there. If you try to understand what exactly is happening, 3D printing coming up, AR, VR, remote surgeries, our topic of today, CDSS, robotic automation happening in healthcare, wearable health devices, a lot of biomarkers. This we have discussed, genomics, a lot of sensors, digital therapeutics. I don't know how much of you know that, so I will just briefly touch this. I hope a lot of you people here have learned about Healthify Me, right? So digital therapeutics are actually mobile applications or softwares in which I hope you remember SaaS, software as a service. So similarly, there is something called SAMD, software as a medical device. So these are coming up under the ambit of digital therapeutics in which we are not using hardcore drugs, capsules or something for any therapy. Rather, we are using digital tools. It can be an app, it can be a software, it can be anything. NGS, I hope a lot of people here are from biotech background. They are knowing digital pathology, personalized medicine. A lot of things are happening. Now, for the next 10 minutes, we will focus on the big tech report in the healthcare segment, right? Why I want to focus? Because in order to understand now, till now we have understood what are the drivers of change in healthcare. We have understood that in which direction our physicians needs to evolve, and simultaneously now we need to understand how the big tech companies are moving. Because if we understand their workflow, we will understand where there is money, where the tech is going, and then we will go a little bit backward to understand what exactly is CDSS and how all the big companies are fighting for their own CDSS. Okay. So just like I mentioned, consumer demand is there. Healthcare is completely fragmented. Lot of hospitals are there. There is lack of coordination, lack of care, lot of things. High administrative burden because as a doctor, just like I mentioned, I have 4 hours and 150 patients. So how can you expect me to have a lot of things? In that itself, you expect me to type everything, make error-free diagnosis, have an empathetic conversation with my patients. It is going to be very burdensome for me, right? And last but not the least, demographic pressure. Government is saying they're increasing the medical colleges, we're increasing the doctor numbers, but believe me, demographically, it is not equitably distributed. You sit in Delhi, you will find thousands of MBBS doctors. You go just 100 kilometers into UP, you will hardly find doctors, right? That is the challenge. There is not an equitable distribution. So today we'll be discussing Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Oracle, 5 important key players in the healthcare segment. I will be briefly touching everyone and little bit rushing for the next 10 to 15 slides to save time, right? Yep. So for the Amazon, primarily you need to understand that Amazon works in the retail giant segment, right? Starting from device setups, and it is also building something called virtual hospitals and virtual clinics. And there is something called One Medical. Today, after this session, you can explore what exactly is One Medical. And Amazon Clinic is also a part, particularly currently it is limited to the US market, and they're substantially doing good, especially in the pharma supply chain. So if you try to understand, a lot of you are from the B Farm and M Farm background. So pharma supply chain goes from the marketing, from the manufacturing to the warehouses and simultaneously to the pharmacy counter. So this supply chain is very difficult. And if you think only about a segment of manufacturing, then in that APIs need to come up and other materials need to come up. So that is a very challenging thing. And this supply chain is a very difficult to maintain. And Amazon is strongly working on this. If you try to understand what exactly is Apple doing, so Apple is trying to build a monopoly by developing its own ecosystem. By there is iPhone, there is Apple Watch, there is iPad, right? Slowly and slowly, I hope a lot of you have seen or learned about Apple Watches. So Apple Watch has got a lot of vital parameters. So they are taking a lot of data and they are collaborating with a lot of health apps. For example, HealthKit, ResearchKit, CareKit. They have their own frameworks and they're collaborating together. And in toto, they're putting it on the top. And if you remember, I told you regarding digital therapeutics, they're putting it up in wearables like Apple Watches, putting in the mobile apps like Apple, you have your iPhone or iPad there, and portable devices. Apple is also collaborating. For example, this Apple Watch can't measure your cough, right? Or your temperature properly sometimes. So they're adding devices on the top of that so that they can be used in ICU setups even. Because see, normal person working and jogging, doing exercises, running a marathon, their Apple Watch is fine. But using Apple Watch in an ICU setup for the monitoring currently is not advisable. If I jump to the next big company, that is a Microsoft. So Microsoft, we know it is comparatively with the Chat GPT and OpenAI association, we have learned that now it is a big player. But in healthcare, if I talk about, it is working a lot on the cloud segment and it is building Azure. I hope you all know that the cloud technology platform. It is making cyber security more foolproof. It is also simultaneously developing a lot of tools, primarily in the AI/ML segment, and a lot of partnerships. Right. CVS Health is one company you can explore. Teladoc is another company. And the reason I mentioned these three companies till now is that when I will be discussing CDSS, you will understand that Microsoft is having currently today, that is 15th of August 2023, the leading player in CDSS. Google, Google is primarily concentrating on two, that is life science and pharma. Uh, Proceeding further, it is having a lot of care studios coming up for clinicians. For example, as you all know that YouTube is a component of Google, right? So it is coming up with a lot of product, clinician-based product. Currently, for example, say I am Dr. Hara Prasad. If I want to open a YouTube channel for prevention or to make patients more aware about, say, AI or something like that, there is no separate incentivization of that part, right? But if you go to UK, there is like that. So Google is working in that direction. Simultaneously, today I mentioned regarding big data, right? So there is a lot of real world generation, primarily evidence. So that we call as RWE, and also healthcare data. So Google is working in that direction. Oracle, it is not a very big player in the healthcare segment, but the but is that EHR is a very important component of healthcare ecosystem. You go to any IPD, you go to any OPD, you have a EHR. So Oracle is heavily investing and acquiring EHR in a lot of segments. So that's why I have put Oracle in this setup, because I hope you all know Amazon, you all know Apple, you all know Microsoft, you all know Google, but a lot of you might think, Dr. Hara, why Oracle here, right? So the simple reason is the leading player in EHR, and CDSS, clinical decision support system, is a sometimes a component of EHR, sometimes it is not, right? We'll see a YouTube video now. I'm audible?
Yes,
Yes.
Okay, okay, thanks a lot. Yep, we'll start. Let me see that the quality is the highest. I will just slow it down and explain you guys a little bit of things so that because it's actually a very practical thing. When by the time you don't see it, you don't understand, right? So primarily why it is needed, CDSS, it is needed to get a lot of data and to take decisions based on that data, right? Patient information is a very important segment. What is the clinical status of that patient? The expectancy, the life years, the vital parameters, they are important things. When I talk about healthcare, health stakeholder, it means the doctor, the nurses, the claims people, everyone, right? If you see the multi-scale data, it means that all the data points that are a part of the EHR and that is used in the CDSS. So now you will see a lot of data points coming up. One is the clinical or pathology data, आपके blood reports, right? Something like that. Risk factor and population data, जो आपको research papers से मिल जाते हैं. Imaging data from MRI, CT scan, all that, right? And all other parameters. Now it is helping you in enhancing your prognosis because of the factor that you know that what level of years you are going to survive, because it is a personalized model, right? And if you try to see, once we have a lot of data point, we built a model, we clustered the patients into various groups, and then based upon big data techniques, we explore the value of informations and accurate predictions could be made, right? It's simply like that. If I have, say, 1 lakh data points, I can have better results compared to 1000 data points. Think in a similar way why GPT-4 is better than GPT-2 or GPT-3 or 3.5 even, right? So the capabilities, if you see, exploring the patient, quality of life, exploring images and a lot of stuff. Now it will be showing how EHR is there and how they are transitioning. So it is parallelly something tumor diagnosis. So we have a history of the patient also, whether they're taking smoke, cigarettes, whether they are consuming alcohol, on all that. This is actually a dashboard in which data entry is happening. You have a patient ID, you will be selecting something, you will be making some changes wherever necessary, you will be adding the data wherever necessary. If you see on the left hand side, there is diagnosis, treatment, follow-up, every data point. It's upon you how much data you have. The more data you enter, the better the results are, right? In India, we talk a lot less about toxicity, but drug toxicity is a very important thing. In foreign countries, they take it very seriously. Now the image part they are going. So they will be having a lot of images, CT scan, MRIs. So uploading of that image is also happening. Quite good. If you see multiple images based upon the availability has been uploaded on the system. Quality of life is actually based upon scoring system, right? We have some questionnaires, we fill that, and quality of life. In the EHR, we very less frequently fill it. Statistical models based upon the parameters we want to assess. They're already model trained and they will simply select a model. For example, here we are selecting a model and we are going to predict the overall survival of the patient. We selected a model and this is the graph coming up, right? Data analysis, the next step will be that part. This model is pre-trained based upon a lot of data available from other EHRs, other research papers and all that. We entered our patient data and from that model, the answers are coming up slowly. Now there are comments also that how the models are performing. And currently the model you are seeing, it is overall survival model named as Oramun Clinicals. You have option to compare multiple models. Say for example, you have 3-4 models for the same thing. You can compare that which model is giving what results. You can compare that also. For example, here we are comparing Oromon Clinical, in which pathology data is also considered. And on the other part, we will be selecting another model. We have selected pathology disease free, we are adding a comparison. The comparison stats come up, right? If you see, there are two colors, a yellow color and a blue color. We'll go to the next part, data analytics. As you know that there is something called Kaplan-Meier curve. It is primarily used for survival prediction. So Kaplan-Meier radiomic and genomic data we have coming up on your screen. We have the radiomic data in which primarily the radiological images, that data point will be used for survival prediction. On the left hand side, we have the genomic data. On the right hand side, we have the imaging data. So if you see the prediction coming up, in the red color, the survival is predicted. And we have patient predictions and survival probabilities coming up. Left hand side, we have the parameters. Right hand side, we have the survival predictions. If you want, here also you can compare as we previously did. You want to add some particular parameters, you can do that. For example, here we added sex, comorbidity score, and we put a search query. Once we put that, you see a sex comorbidity score also popped up. And there's a little bit new diagram coming up on the right hand side. It is a Kaplan-Meier line. The blue line you are seeing, actually there are three lines, a blue line, a green line, and an orange line. Right? Quality of life coming up. There are a lot of scoring system based upon questionnaires I mentioned, right? How many months after treatment, how many weeks after treatment. So there are a lot of quality of life plots coming up. So I hope you guys got a little bit of understanding what exactly is a CDSS, and hope you understood that why data is important, why modeling is important, and how CDSS will help us to take better decisions in a clinical practice. These are all the charts coming up for the quality of life assessment, pre-treatment, post-treatment, during the treatment, right? If you see, there are a lot of charts, right? A lot of charts on the right hand side. These are the questionnaires that have been used. There are a lot of full forms. I don't remember exactly the full forms of this. So there is pre-treatment also, after treatment also, so that we can compare the quality of life, right? For example, you guys know that during cancer chemotherapy, hair fall happens. So patient will complain कि डॉक्टर साहब मेरे को दर्द से तो आराम है, but I'm feeling uncomfortable because of my less or bad look or my hair fall, right? Yeah. Right. Uh, uh, my PPT is visible, right?
Yep.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Yeah. So moving further, I hope by now you have a good understanding that how a CDSS looks like, especially after the demo video. Now let's move forward. Now let's try to understand that why CDSS is currently the talk of the town, especially post-COVID and with a lot of AI tools coming up. So this is a basic search query I had. So if you try to see from the recent past, the title results have been increasing, and it is increasing in terms of like the since post-COVID. I do understand that you say कि Hara, there has been also other plots, but see, when the talk was happening in back in 1990s or early 2000s, also CDSS was talk of the town when Microsoft built a couple of softwares, but then it slowly went down, and then now it is again coming up because the EHR is also building up, right? So you need to understand that EHR and CDSS work in tandem. They can't function in silo. For example, the demo I showed you guys, you must have understood that a lot of data is needed for a good modeling and good prediction. Now, I hope you have a good understanding that what exactly is a CDSS. We'll be also today discussing some concepts, and also I will discuss some potential impact, right? Definition and components. So primarily, see, whenever I talk about CDSS, you need to understand that It is an AI-enabled system in which we will be using a lot of patient data to have a model, and we will input our own customized patient data. For example, say a person is suffering from breast cancer. I want to have a prediction model of survival. So first of all, using all the data points from various EHR, from research papers, from registries, all that, I will build a model for breast cancer. And then I will take that concerned patient's data, for example, his age, gender, the level of cancer staging, the current treatment plan, all that, and I will ask that model for a query search, and I will get some results for the prediction. Also, it will help me to take decisions. For example, think in this way: you don't have an insurance, right? And somebody is diagnosed with cancer, and I have to tell the family that how many years as a doctor as I expect. So I can't say, because you guys have heard, right, from your doctors saying कि हमने हमारी प्रैक्टिस में देखा है कि 10 साल लोग जी जाते हैं, बट टुडे इन दिस एरा ऑफ डेटा यू कांट से कि मैंने अपनी प्रैक्टिस में देखा है, आपकी की प्रैक्टिस कितनी बड़ी है, राइट? फॉर एग्जांपल से
Excuse me, sir.
हेलो,
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
या प्लीज गो।
Sir, please, can you explain in English? I don't understand Hindi.
Okay, for sure, works for me. So I
Thank you.
was, yeah, that works. So I was saying कि whenever we do prediction model, so what happens is that we have to define a bigger data set point. For example, say somebody suffers from a cancer, right? And I am a onco physician. So I have to tell that family that how many years I'm expecting as a doctor that the patient will survive. The reason being, the patient family need to arrange some finances for the treatment part, and they will ask me saying ki, doctor, if you are expecting a 5-year survival, then we will sell our land. If you're expecting a 20-year survival, we'll sell our house even if needed, right? But if you're expecting a 6-month survival, we can't take this much of financial risk. So you need to understand that as a doctor it becomes a very difficult decision for me as an onco physician. So what I will do is that I will go to the database, the trained models, and I will put query. I will put patient's age, patient data, and I will ask for a survival curve. But the challenge remains is that if you go back in time, or even currently in India, or not all physicians are having access to CDSS. What they do is that if you ask the same query, they will say, "Ki in my practice, based upon my experience, I expect a 5-year survival or a 4-year survival." But hope you guys should understand that we are living in a very data intensive community, and this kind of results or statement is not acceptable, and it can be easily challenged in a court of law, right? Secondly, if I try to make you understand what exactly is needed in CDSS, a lot of data point is needed. And once those data points are available, you need to integrate that data. So that point I discussed, if you remember, I talked about that you have a Max hospital, you have a Apollo, you have a government hospital. But the problem is that the 3 EHRs are not interoperable. And because they are not interoperable, the data integration is not happening properly. You can't add apple with oranges and with watermelon, right? You need to have only apples, or you need to convert oranges into apples in some form. So that data integration and EMR interoperability is very important. Once you have all this together, you need to build a model, and those models need to be machine learning algorithms, right? And once those algorithms are developed, you need to convert them into good decision support modules, because see, the modules or the dashboard will be operated by a doctor or by a healthcare provider. Now it will be not operated by a software developer. So the screen format, the output of the dashboard should be very user friendly. It should not be it should not seem, I think somebody has raised a hand. Okay, Alok has shared the query form. Okay, so I was saying it might not happen that that you can easily use the dashboard to have that. The dashboard format should be very easy to understand, right? Secondly, I hope that you understand that with more and more data coming in, human interpretation will take a longer time. So that's why we need to put a lot of AI modeling on the top of that. Benefits: accuracy, efficiency will definitely increase, medical errors will decrease, adverse event definitely decrease, patient safety, improved outcome, as you know, workflow, resource allocation. Just like I mentioned, I set an OPD, I have a say 150 patient to see in 250 minutes, sorry, 240 minutes. So it becomes very difficult, right? Research capabilities and knowledge discovery, that is going to be increased. Applications, we have discussed, right? Diagnosis, treatment, recommendation, prediction, survival, risk prediction, prognosis, all that. Clinical trial design, because we design, a lot of you are from the clinical research background. So clinical trial design, a lot of role of CDSS is there with patient to select for the trials, right? Drug discovery, I saw that a lot of people have asked questions to me that how drug discovery can be improved with AI, drug repurposing, how to select a lead molecule, that also covers this part. Real-time monitoring and predictive analytics is very important, because see, a lot of time what is going to happen is that you will have a patient who is, say, a heart failure patient, right? And he is residing in his home, but you can't have 24-hour looking at a mobile screen to see his vital parameter, ki what is the ECG, what is this and that. You can't do that. So simply what you will do is that you will put a model, and that model will raise alarms whenever there is a massive disruption or massive, you can say, outliers coming up. For example, atrial fibrillation happening or a arrhythmia happening, then only the beep rings. And as a doctor, as a cardiac person, I can see my phone that yes, Ram patient is having a red beep. It means that something is happening. Then simply what I will do, I will just dial up the call to my resident medical officer who is on duty and say, do this, ask for vitals, ask for other parameter, prescribe the necessary changes and get things done, rather than I am rushing to the hospital, right? Challenges and limitation, as you know that everything in life has got two sides of the coin. So first of all, data quality. I saw that some of you today posted questions to me saying, Dr. Hara, is healthcare data available equitably to all researchers and for all purposes, or there are a lot of licensing on the top of that? So that is a cause of concern. I do agree. Interoperability, just like I mentioned, everybody wants to have their own platforms. For example, Apple don't want to come into Google Android, and Android don't want to migrate to that. Same goes with EHR. But if you talk about India, India is making massive strides. The National Health Authority coming up with the NDHM, the ABHA IDs, these things are slowly operating cooler. Ethical and legal consideration definitely is there. For example, I'll just give you a statement. A few days back, I was operating on an AI tool. I will not name the AI tool. I just asked a query to that AI tool that if I need to eliminate cancer completely from Earth, what I need to do? The answer was kill all the humans, right? The answer is correct. It's not wrong, but it is not ethically correct answer. Hope you understand. Similarly, I will give you example of legal consideration. I was doing a research project on health insurances. Okay, so I asked a search query saying ki, for example, I am running a medical insurance company and I need to identify that which people will be most defaulter. So the answer was people coming from lower caste. For example, we have a lot of caste in India, right? So lower caste. The reason I could find it out, because the model that was used to train that AI model, that followed a little bit of caste-driven data. So if you go by the societal caste-driven method, the Brahmins and Kshatriyas have got a higher earning potential compared to the Shudras and other lower caste as per the Indian caste system. But I'm making a disclaimer. I have nothing to do with the Indian caste system. But it is coming up a legal challenge. Trust and acceptance by healthcare professionals is definitely a cause of concern, because see, whoever is practicing currently as a top tier, top or best surgeon in the country, he is in his 50s. If a doctor is in his 50s, his medical schooling happened in 20s or late 20s, right? So there is a 30-year or a 25-year gap. So changing that mindset is a cause of concern. Next is that integration into existing clinical workflows. Just like you know that I built something, but putting it into the existing circuit is always difficult. That is a cause of concern. So integration is a challenge. Algorithm bias and explainability, that is also a cause of concern, because which data point modeling you are doing, what kind of data you use to train that. For example, say I used to, I hope you all remember and know about CMC Vellore. Imagine something like this, that a model is trained based upon data of patients coming to CMC Vellore. And I hope you all will align to this part, that CMC Vellore has got primarily population coming from Andhra, Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala, that segment. very less people will go from Jammu and Kashmir comparatively. So if you think that a model is trained based upon patients of CMC Vellore and we implement that model for the whole of India, it will not have a perfect match because there is a lot of algorithm bias, right? Patients from North India has not been taken into consideration and all that. And next, that is a great challenge is the explainability. How do you explain that? For example, imagine a model saying your survival chances is 46%, right? A model says this. Now, as a doctor, how I will communicate this to my patient is very tough. I will just give you example. I am currently working on a model for Crohn's disease prediction, intestinal tuberculosis, and Crohn's disease differentiation. So, as you know, that Crohn's disease and intestinal TB mimic a lot. So, what used to happen is that the radiological findings are very common. Just give me a second. So, so what used to happen is that there is a lot of similarity between these two conditions. So, say the model says that patient X has got 14% chances of intestinal TB. So, as a doctor telling to the patient, I can only tell yes or no. I can't tell you have 14% chances, right? So, this explainability is also a cause of concern. Case studies are a lot of there, like we can highlight successful implementations. For example, this is a research paper, you can have a look, in which they have showed that how CDSS is used for the preventive management. Apollo is a great example, the CI engine of Apollo, you can explore that also. uh, Philips has got a beautiful thing. What I will do is that due to shortage of time, I'm not playing the video, but Philips one I will suggest you to explore. Apollo also I will suggest you to explore. Uh, Alice Health, I just wanted to touch upon this company is doing great. It is using patient data point and monetizing the patient data and giving money to the patients. For example, currently what happens is that hospitals sell the patient data, right? For example, you get random calls and spam calls because some companies have sold your mobile number data, but you didn't get paid from that. But Alice Health is using that point. Uh, I think somebody has raised something. Okay, I'll just take 5 more minutes, then I will answer your queries. My healthcare, I think, yep. My healthcare is also working on a lot on that segment. CDSS, if you want to understand, see some examples of CDSS from Indian scenario, you can test this. Future direction and opportunities, primarily, I will say precision medicine has got a lot to do, and a lot of technologies, like I could see some questions coming today on NLP, CV, and reinforcement, the RL part, it has got a lot of potentials. Recommendations, see, I will just tell that a lot of collaboration needs to be there, standardization of protocols, and simultaneously, whatever tools we are developing, a lot of monitoring and evaluation that how they are exactly functioning, right? And a little bit of explainability is a cause of concern. What's more. This I will not touch much, but just for your understanding, there is something called knowledge-based and non-knowledge-based CDSs. Some of you who want to deep dive more into it, you can explore a research paper that I will share. So this is something called a knowledge-based. So in this, what happens is that there is a clinical data, there is an interface engine, there is a base code, and the knowledge user is having communication from that. If you see the non-knowledge, there is a difference. There is a AI-powered interface engine, there is a clinical data, but here there is an algorithm of neural network. If you go back, here there was a knowledge based code. Here there is a neural network. So this is a non-knowledge based code. This is a research paper. I recommend those of you who want to go more deeper, just have a read. It will give you a very, very good understanding. Digital health in India, I will briefly touch for the next couple of minutes. This is how the paradigm shift is happening. A lot of aggregator players, a lot of healthcare providers are coming into digital health ecosystem because CDSS is a component of digital health, right? This is the rate of adoption. If you see, online pharmacy is the most adoption and e-diagnostic is the least adopted, but I'm hopeful this is going to improve a lot in coming time. Doctor consultation, if you see, it is very common in this age group because see, this is young age group, earning group also, right? And responsible for both children and geriatric population care. This is a tire based comparison. This is something how chronic and non-chronic. So if you see, chronic patients are having more adaptability and more acceptance towards e-healthcare, digital health. This is something post-COVID preference. If you see, most preference is happening in this online consultancy and online pharmacy. This is something. What are the key pain points? I hope you all will agree to these points. These are the customer regions. I will sum it up. This is my book. I have touched a little bit of how healthcare is happening, a lot of changes. Primarily, the book was written back in 2021, so primarily focusing on COVID. Before we sum the today's talk, see, success is definitely something which we all look for, right? But I want to focus in this webinar is that always look for your ethics. Never compromise your ethics for the sake of money, because see, money, if you have a good skill set, you will earn a good amount of money. But if you lose your ethics once, it is gone. And this is something I want all of you to remember, that success should be your progressive realization of how many people are better off because you survived, right? A lot of you have raised a query that Dr. Hara, I'm a beginner in the AI segment. I want to learn about AI, but I am a little bit afraid. I don't know coding. I hate mathematics. That's why I opted for biology. So I want to tell you that don't fear AI. Just accept AI. And AI is not artificial intelligence. It is actually augmented intelligence. So it will augment you. It will complement you. It will increase your potentials. This is a pic from Goa. If you see, the host of today, Alok, is here, right? So the reason I put up this pic is that if you see, it is a very collaborative environment. You need to support each other. If you see this research group, some of them are doctors, some of them are from life science background, some of them are from biotech background, some of them are from pharmacy background. So AI in healthcare can't operate in silos. You need to collaborate a lot. For example, Alok is there. He's a pathologist, he's a gastroenterologist, the people behind all the stalwarts, right? So it's a very collaborative environment. This is a picture from my AIML winter school from Princeton's University in collaboration from Infosys campus in Mysore. And he's my professor. I have been learning a lot and working on some research projects with him. And I hope you also, some of you might be recognizing few of the faces here. Alok is there, and Dr. Tav is my mentor from Triple IT Delhi when I was working in the AIML projects back in 2021 and 2022. So these are my current collaborations. I'm working on a lot of projects. The best part is that I love to work with academia, with research groups, and also with startup ecosystem. If you see on the top, these are primarily hardcore research groups. These are primarily the startups I'm working on, and these are my academic research collaborations. So happy to contribute, happy to collaborate anytime, anything. Currently, I have joined the prestigious Ashoka University in the Koita Center for Digital Health, and I look forward to work on some great projects in coming times. To sum it up, you can anytime reach out to me for any queries, anything you want to discuss on LinkedIn, and you have my mail ID also. And with this, I will conclude and open to queries, open to answer your questions.